there.
Hello, viewers. Our guest today is David Leo Sirois, a Canadian-American poet published 120 times in 17 countries. His work will be translated into 12 languages, including Hindi, Bengali, Nepali, French, German, Czech, Spanish, Greek, Romanian, Chinese, Turkish, and Doric. He hosts Spoken Word Online, the Zoom continuation of SpokenWord Paris. David's first collection is called Humbledoves, Poems to Pigeons and Plants. He won the third prize in Winning Writers Virgil Flomp Humor Poetry Contest, and his poetry has appeared in journals such as the Bombay Review, the Poetry Village, One Hand Clapping, Indian Periodical, the Sunday Tribune Online, the Bastille, and Terrestrial, which is also published as translations from French. David is often featured at global events such as the Panorama International Literature Festival and 100,000 Poets for Change, as well as in many international podcasts and interviews. He's also a singer-songwriter, a radio DJ, and a film and theater actor. He's currently submitting 5 finished manuscripts for publication and writing several more. Welcome, David. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Welcome. David, you're both a singer and a poet. Can we begin by listening to one of your poems first?
Absolutely. So here's a poem that I have revised for 27 years after it was channeled. In a sense, I collapsed into a trance and my mouth spoke these words that may sound weird, but I had a vision and collapsed. And so I don't feel I wrote it, but I was encouraged to revise it and take it the way of literature rather than just say, oh, this is a piece of trance channeling. I have nothing to do with it, but just leaving it as it was. So in any case, it's probably my best known poem. It's been published in 5 countries so far and translated into at least French, German, Spanish, so a few languages, and Romanian. So anyway, this is called Song for a Seeker of Eden. Over the face of naked waters, a nameless breath was blowing. In wide wind, white seeds of weakness and weightless days of realization whirled in one confused flurry. A subtle hand separated light from dark, dark from salted sky, and was turning, lifting solid air above the undulating dark seas beneath. On the second day, a sphere of raw fire was carried up into blank dark to make day, and a round stone mirror rose into the opposing sky in a shower of sparks to make night. Our globe's green skin split into countless shoots of wet grass, and the bark of trees burst into soft green flames. Blizzards of birds brought fresh brilliance to foliage, and 7 oceans flooded with the flashing blue life of countless fish. At the next dawn, the new infant soil learned red, fresh languages, pulses of horses and bulls. Massive shadows of elephants and rams spilled into wilderness, wildness of rain wind. On the following day, plots of dull clay were shaped into articulate fingers of humanness. Between blood and blood, skin and skin, man and woman, the two were shaped. Held in delicate hands of sentient trees, one unique, enriched scarlet fruit, pregnant with secrets and seeds that carried the rumor of death. Amidst its wrinkled branches, a serpent made of the yellow muscle of want wound its insidious whisper. You will know yourselves and fathom the sky if you bite this blood-colored fruit. Each stretched a fleshy hand toward one apple that was their own crimson consciousness. Man and woman shared that dark starred fruit until their lips bled with vision, taste of sunset inside the sky. Naked, they ate red within the red as the first leaf wrinkled and blindly fell.
Brilliant. That's amazing. I mean, I was kind of transfixed by that poem because it is so evocative. It has so many imagery in it. It's it's actually telling a story, but it's also kind of taking us back to the creation and all that we've learnt about it. So tell me, how did you make it so eloquent? How did it all come about, this poem? I mean, what was the inspiration for this poem, or how did you begin to write this?
Well, and it may be hard to believe for some, but I was sitting with a friend and I had a vision of a dove made of white fire across the room. And it flew over to the crown of my head. It was very hot. And it burned down the length of my spine, and I collapsed onto the bed. And my mouth just started moving over the face of naked waters and reciting this kind of creation story. And from that, I kept revising the words and making it better, longer, richer in imagery, more clear, and elongating the images, making more of a picture come to be and more of a story be told. And it has arrived at where it is now, but it's been published along the way in many places. So I've continued to revise it. I was even coming up with new phrases while reciting it. So.
Absolutely. I mean, I can see that you're quite passionate about that poem because, I mean, first of all, it's completely, I mean, you're not reading it, it's all in your head. And, the way you're reciting it is also, there's a lot of passion, a lot of fervor when you recite it. So I can completely understand, the whole sentiment behind it. But it's a brilliant poem. It's very inspirational. I mean, it's something you can actually listen to again and again.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
Now,
so how a friend wrote it down was the part I forgot to mention.
Okay.
Since I was in a conscious trance, my mouth was moving of its own volition. A friend wrote it down, and that's how brilliant. I had to revise.
So you had a vision in the real sense of the term. I mean, a lot of poets talk about double vision and having visions and dreams. So you literally had one in that sense. I mean,
yes.
That's good. That's interesting. Now, you're a singer as well, aren't you? I mean, you perform as well. So it would be wonderful if we could, listen to one of your songs, if you could play and sing for us at the same time.
Absolutely. I have a song on the radio right now, which is a great honor. I've always wanted to be on the radio, and as if it weren't enough to be on all night, every night as a DJ, it's an honor to have my first song on the radio. And for example, a couple of nights ago, I turned on the radio and it happened to be on. This is the first time it's happened as such a surprise, and my cat and I were quite amazed. So, I do write children's books also. I have one called Butter the Cat.
Oh, you do? Okay.
And I do write a lot of.
I'm sure that must be a big hit because since you have a humorous, sarcastic, sort of a tone running through your poems and works and everything, I'm sure the children's book will be a huge hit.
Thank you. Yeah, at the open mic that I conduct or host, they love it. So yes, this is the song that's on the radio.
Right.
It's called Everything Changes. And believe it or not, I wrote and recorded it in the year 2000. and that recording is what's on the radio. So it's finally come out into the public, and I was happy when it got on Spotify, for example, and iTunes. But to have it on the radio, especially after so many years, and with the great musicians that are on the recording, like a mandolin solo, for example, it's quite something to have it on the air. Anyhow, here we go. Everything changes. The dusky downtown skyline is lit with brilliant hopes of working through these evening hours to find the antidote to loneliness. But I would work until the morning star fell from her place, just to learn how to begin loving you with human grace. Everything changes in stages, everything changes. Everything changes in stages, everything changes. When the pieces of our fight were fresh as grapes upon the vine, pressed into a scarlet silence, fermenting into angry wine. Oh, then we talked until the morning star drowned in the sun, just to see bright light restored where there had been none. Everything changes in stages, everything changes. Everything changes in stages, everything changes. Welcome to the underworld we call relationships. No one taught us how to talk or which connection fits. But we will stay until the morning star has sung her set, just to hold one perfect note, never to forget. Everything changes in stages, everything changes. Everything changes in stages, everything changes. Everything changes in stages, everything changes except our name.
Oh, that was a good one. Did you compose this song and the tune and everything? It's yours, right? I mean, like you.
Yes, indeed. I wrote it myself.
I mean, amazing. The lines are amazing. I love the part where you said, you know, welcome to the underworld where we call relationships. No one knows what fits, and you know,
Right. No one taught us how to talk.
That's amazing. I mean, I like the way you put it. That's postmodern angst, or that's the postmodern dilemmas, you would say. I mean, you know, you never know what's right or what's for you. You know, the only thing we know is we're there to stay till it's time to go away. You know, I mean, I loved the whole thought behind it. I loved the way you put it. The tune, is really simple. It doesn't overtake the lyrics at all. So which gives you, the good part about it is it gives you, the tune is so gentle and so subtle that it gives you time to focus on the lyrics, on the words, which are beautiful actually.
Thank you very much.
So a really, really good, song. So what, I mean, I noticed that you do a lot of contrasts, situational contrasts, as well as imagery contrasts, as well as day, night, a lot of contrasting things come into your poems and your songs. So is that a deliberate thing, or does it just come naturally?
I think it's deliberate in the sense that I'm very aware of poetry being full of paradoxes. There are things that don't seem to relate, but they do, or images that seem to contrast, but in the end they don't. So yes, I'm very fascinated by that. And I wanted to quote one of my dreams. I have a book of about 65 pages of lines that are directly from my dreams that, believe it or not, that I just I write down in the night and forget, and I'm always amazed the next day. And one of the lines from my dreams, they're very ironic, some of them, and one of them says, "A citation from David Sirois. All that I ever know is that I'm alive right now." And when you said something like that, of course, it brought that to mind.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think your lines are very philosophical too. I mean, you just said it. All that I know is that I'm alive right now, because I mean, I don't know what is going to happen to me in the next minute. I don't know. I mean, what is gone is gone. So,
Right. Yes.
So how do you get these dreams? I mean, you say you get a lot of dreams. I mean, like, do you think that's like, I mean, you don't have issues with, I mean, you're not troubled by the fact that you see these dreams, or?
Sometimes I get annoyed because I really want to sleep. I really want to get some rest. And whenever I fall asleep is when I usually get a line and wake back up. So, I'm trying to rest, and I get frustrated sometimes that I keep being woken up.
But spoken like a true artist, though. Artists get inspiration in their sleep, actually. So
yes, it's quite lovely, and some of them are very funny, like, "He raised them from the bed." Or about, my cat or what have you, but most of them are very, deep in a sense, like, "He threw a window at the sun," for example, or "May wisdom walk at your side and speak for you when you stray." So I'm very fortunate to have these dreams, and maybe because I work with poetry so much and I'm writing different points throughout the day and reading, that it just comes naturally in my sleep. And I'm very fortunate also that poetry comes naturally to me in general, that all those 5 manuscripts I've put together, and the at least 3 more that I'm writing, are all from spending a few minutes here and there. So if I was a full-time writer, holy moly, I'd have a lot of books out there.
No, but you are a full-time writer, aren't you? I mean,
no, it's hard to make a living at poetry, and I even know
I get it.
Pretty well-known ones that still have to work to pay their bills, at least because it's a steady income, rather than, okay, here, I'll win a prize, and then maybe 2 years later I'll win another one. So. But I'm very fortunate to get tips from my fans at the open mic, and when I give readings. I have a coffee page, virtual coffees, so I'm very fortunate to be receiving those. And in any case, it's easier in life to have a steady income, and I know even and more well-known poets that still have to. So. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I realized I promised to read a funny poem at the beginning, and I
Yes.
completely forgot. So this is the title poem from my collection called Humbledoves. I saw children chasing pigeons at a playground in Montmartre. As I walked by, I smiled and disapproved. They didn't notice me or my hair in disrepair, but I stared in mute contemplation of their scary, fearless, unrelenting effort to scare these multicolored humbledoves who come from everywhere.
That's a good one. That's humorous, but at the same time, it's got a lot of, like I said, nature imagery and contrasts again. So I was
Thank
just
you.
coming to that. Regarding the nature imagery in your poems, I mean, we all know that, in today's, technology-driven, fast-paced life, people are moving away from nature and life as we know it. So in your poems, are you, trying to bring back the simple things of life, the birds, the flowers and everything, and giving them a space in human lives again? Is that something you're attempting to do? Or
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And because I want to be read, long after I'm dead, which is when poets tend to get famous, I purposefully exclude any images of technology, social media, at least from my serious poems, because who will know what that means? Zoom or Twitter or a certain program, maybe 100 years from now, it may not exist, and I don't want people to have footnotes. So most of my images are from nature, and most of my language is very simple. Like in that spiritual poem I started off with, I could speak, in very complicated language, but I want to make the poems accessible to many people, Even if my verbal IQ is in the 180s, which is, 40 to 50 points above genius level, I'm not pulling out every big word in my bag of tricks,
No, I get it. The best way to connect with people is to be simple and straightforward. I mean, that's especially in your writing. I've noticed a lot of that. Even I prefer writing, which is simple and it connects with me right away, rather than using a lot of sort of high-flown words and trying to gain attention. So I think it's wonderful what you're doing. I mean, the work that you're doing is.
I don't want just poets or just people in school to be able to read it. I'd like anybody to be able to read it. So I try to keep it as simple as possible.
Absolutely. Yeah, I get it. Now that brings me, how closely are you connected with nature? I mean, are you somebody who loves, taking nature walks and going on nature trails and, all that? How closely connected are you with all these things?
I'm very connected to it in the sense that even in a city, I always find the parks or, the flowering trees in front of people's houses or what have you. I'm very aware of nature and often write. Like half of the book of Humbledoves is poems to plants. And so, there are poems to an azalea tree, azalea bush, or to flowers I don't even know the names of, but I'm very drawn to. And even if I've lived in cities like Paris and Boston for most of my adult life, I still always gravitate to the images of nature that are even amidst the city. Mm-hmm. I'm back in, small town Maine and Canada, right on the border, but I still find nature even anywhere that I am.
I completely get it. I mean, it's going through your poems, I got this feeling that you resonate a lot with, poetic greats like W.B. Yeats and T.S. Eliot, because as a student of literature, I kind of, the moment I read your poems, I thought, okay, they're so much like, they remind me so much of these poetic greats. So at the same time, now that you tell me that you're connected to nature and you prefer, you do notice the small things of, life. I tend to think that your poems also resonate a lot of Wordsworth and, you know, the romantic poets of English literature, Wordsworth, Shelley, Keats, who actually took time to look around and see the little things of life. And, you know, so in that sense, your poems are very evocative. They bring back a lot of, you know, memories, a lot of recollections of these poetic greats. So tell me a little about your poetic influences. Have these poets actually shaped the way you write today?
Absolutely, yes. And compared to a lot of the, you know, slam poets, for example, that are out there today, I might sound even more atavistic, more like a throwback to the Romantics, or Yeats is my favorite poet in the English language. Even if I don't tend to rhyme, I draw a lot from his work, and used to recite, I can, a lot of his poems from memory that I accidentally memorized from reading them so many times. And I've studied the Wasteland under 4 teachers over the last 30 years. So yes, it's definitely in my subconscious and in among my influences, and you know, those poets cast a long shadow. So I'm always or often alluding to Yeats or Eliot in my lines, you know, like consciously bringing them back in. So
yeah, because you know, what strikes me now as I think about it is that while you're expressing a lot of modern day angst and a lot of the sort of crystallizing the modern day dilemma, so to speak, in your songs and in your poems, you're doing it with so much of simplicity and so much of reference to simple little things. You know, that contrast is very striking for me, because it's not easy to do that. You know, you can express modern day angst, or you can express the dilemma of modern day existence by using modern day imagery, like for example social media or technology, or modern day conversations, or abstract images, a stream of consciousness, things like that. But it's not easy to do this, you know, to use simple everyday imagery and bring up these issues. I mean, existentialism and modern day, the bleakness of modern day existence, and you know, the whole.
thank you. Yeah, I mean, I could recite a verse as an example where I allude to 3 different poets.
Mm-hmm.
So I say, now I forget, of course, how it begins. So one of my philosophical love poems, as I call it, says, now is the time to taste and see, it is good what you have made. At the corner of 2 heartways stood no temple to Apollo. And then I go on to describe a cafe that's here in my in the town where I was born. And so I've already alluded to Hafiz, the Psalms of David, and Rainer Maria Rilke in those first 4 lines. So yes, a lot of it is done on purpose, or it just comes out from what I read.
I know. I mean, you know, I was just going through this poem of yours. I mean, I found it on the website. It's called "I Hear the Bank of America Singing." You know, I loved it. I loved the opening, paragraph where you've said, I will go down to my bank by the river and make myself undisguised and naked. I am mad to be in contact with my cash. It is for my fingers forever. So youthful and crisp, I could request a red wine vinaigrette to sprinkle upon it. That is so evocative. That is, a true, that reminded me a lot of Yeats, by the way.
Oh, thanks. Well, that one's in the voice of Walt Whitman, and so I allude to 8 of his poems or steal from them. Like instead of when I heard the learned astronomer, I say, when I heard the learned investment counselor. Yes. You know, yes. Or when he says in one of his poems, I will go down to the bank by the river, like the river bank. You know, right. I'm saying my bank, like it's in my financial institution.
I know, I got it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it
So
also reminded me of William Butler Yeats, The Lake I Live in History, where he says, I think the first line is, I will arise now and go to an history in a small cabin built there of clay and wattles made. 9 bean
yes,
rows will I have there, a hive for the honeybee, and live alone in a bee loud glade. So this kind of reminded me a lot of William Butler Yeats also. And I love the humor, the sarcasm, the scorn in that,
thank you so much. Yeah, the only real prize that I've won was for a funny poem, was for that poem.
Mm-hmm.
And I always have to realize that my funny poems may be more popular.
Mm-hmm.
My poems, The Pigeons, are one of the things that made me well known in Paris.
Mm.
And so I might, start even an open mic 5-minute reading. I might start with a funny short poem to a pigeon and then read a series of fun. So I draw people in, and even if I don't take my funny poems seriously, literally, they have some serious elements, and they're taken seriously as literary writing either way. So
right, and I love it. This poem, this I hear the Bank of America singing, and as you go along, you've said this. The penultimate paragraph where you said, "Oh, overdraft protection, oh wise avoidance of insufficient funds in the dusty past, sadly resulting in countless $25 charges." Oh my God! I mean, that is amazing. And you said, oh, Captain, yes, that's Walt Whitman. Oh, Captain, my Captain. And then, I'm aching to press my flesh against your million billboards with their ecstatic ethnic businesswomen who eye the easy pass, swimmers in their muscular Vipers, Lexuses, and Beamers. That is a very humorous take on, the modern, sort of emptiness, or the aching, yes, or the yearning that is there to, do better, to achieve more, better things in life. And you've done it in like a very humorous, sarcastic way, and that's brilliant, I think.
Thank you. Yeah, and when sometimes people quote it back to me, like some of their favorite lines, and usually it's overdraft protection.
Yes, I love that. That's what actually drew me to that paragraph. Overdraft protection. I mean, yeah. I mean, it also shows you how fragile, life can be, because I mean, literally, all of us are dependent on a lot on overdraft. At the moment that facility is over, we've had it. So, I mean, I like that, how you connect, simple things, modern day things, and, you weave it all into one humorous piece. And that requires a lot of skill, and hats off to you for doing what you do, because it's amazing. And let me tell you, the last 2 lines are the best. I like the late risen yellow moon sleeping on the surface of the sea. I'm heavy with love, that sort of underscores everything. I really love it. I love this poem.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, and that's something people can easily look up, winning writers. I hear just my last name, Sirois, or I hear the Bank of America singing, this type of thing. There's even a video of me at SpokenWord Paris reciting it. And so I'm very grateful to be able to be found easily. If people Google my name, they get about 4 pages worth of poetry and music. So I Google myself regularly because it's easier. If I want to share a poem, I might write Sirois Bombay Review, and I can find it in an instant, rather than going through all of my, like a book manuscript to find it. So Google makes it easy, and I jokingly call it Go Ogle. People are ogling at the internet,
So are there any other social concerns, or any particular social issues, or anything at all that you highlight, or you prefer taking this general route of life and all that it brings? And I mean,
well, yes, I mean, there are certainly issues I care very particularly about, like feminism, for example. And so I made sure in Song for a Seeker of Eden to emphasize the fact that the way it was channeled was with a a non-sexist perspective. It's both the man and the woman that reach for the apple. It's the man and the woman are created at the same time individually out of clay rather than the woman taking from the man's rib, etc. So I emphasize that point to make sure it ended up as still a feminist version of that creation story. So that's one example. And of course, environmental issues and social justice and all of the usual liberal issues I'm very much into.
Is there something you've written that you can share with us that's got to do with, like, say, social justice or, the environment or anything at all? I mean, that would be interesting because it covers a whole panorama of things.
Oh, thanks. Maybe I shouldn't have mentioned it because I try to stay away from any kinds of topical poetry. I don't think those poems end up very good. People's political poems or what have you. It's usually done badly, and I think the three things that are hardest to write about well, without being sentimental or cliched, are God, politics, and love. And people tend to fall into sentimentality or religion or anything that cheapens how deep those things are and how beyond the confines of the mind those things are. So
yeah, those three things are actually, I mean, beyond expression, or they cannot actually be put into words and cheapened, as you say, because they're very deep. They have a lot of layers, I mean, and anyone trying to put them into words and sort of encasing them in any kind of framework is doing it injustice. I completely agree with you, and yes. for that I admire you for not wanting to write on those also. Because
oh, thanks. But I'm grateful when lines, for example, in my dreams come out. Like there's one of them, and it's kind of ironic because it's in a dream, but it says, "There is a way out of this dream, and for you, it is through love." So I enjoy how, coming out of the dream of life through love, piercing through our concepts and artificialness to come out of the dream of life through love. And certainly, there is a way out of this dream. Since I'm dreaming, it becomes ironic, but in any case,
I was thinking of another line. There's a way out of this dream, and that's to wake up, Instead of saying there's a way out of this dream and that is love, I was thinking of an alternate line, which is there's a way out of this dream and that is to wake up.
Yes, indeed. Certainly. And that's the fact. But, I translate Paul Valéry, the great French poet from 100 years ago, and he says, the best way to make your dreams come true is to wake up.
There you go.
I think, not just wake up in the morning and follow your dreams and live them, but also in a spiritual sense, the best way to realize your dreams is to wake up, in a spiritual sense and
absolutely,
and then naturally grasp things like love and the divinity of life and all
so
of that.
Let it come to you instead of you're trying to run after it and figure out what it is to just let these things come to you. Love and God and the three things that you talked about. It's better to just let them take their course rather than go after it.
Yes, I agree, and just have a real and natural sense of things beyond the mind, beyond concepts of what love is or what God is or what have you, to have the experience. Love is a state of consciousness.
Completely. David, you told me that you do know a little, you do chant a little in Sanskrit, and you do a lot of, that as well. So do you do that to give you a sense of perspective, to give you a sense of calm, to give you a sense of, peace? Or is it something that you're interested in and you're doing it just to learn it?
It is the fact that I have a guru from India that I met in 1995. And when I lived at her ashram, I was practicing things like chanting in Sanskrit, and so I continue. This is Butter the cat. So I continue to chant on a daily basis to connect myself to the divine power of life, to have that real experience. And so it's not just a study like of the language Sanskrit or anything like that, or oh, I'm going to practice yoga and it'll make me calmer. But it's deeper than that. So it's very much a part of my my daily life and practice.
Absolutely. So can we close with a few chants that can you give our viewers the pleasure of listening to a few Sanskrit chants?
Well, thank you. Yes, I can quote, for example, this little hymn to Ganesh. Of course, if anyone doesn't know, the god that's seen as the remover of obstacles, the great giver of compassion and love, the elephant-headed god that children probably even find cute. So anyway, this is a little hymn to Ganesh. Gajananam bhuta ganadi sevitam kapita jambu palacharu bhakshanam uma sutam shoka vinashakarakam namami vinyeshwarapada pankajam. Hari Om.
That was amazing, brilliant, David. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. I wish we could go on and on, but I think it's time to stop. But it was amazing. It was, believe me, I mean, I'm inspired talking to you, and I'm inspired, to write and to think more when speaking to you. So I'm sure our viewers will be equally, impacted by this conversation. I'm so glad you could come and, talk to us and spare the time.
Me too. It was inspiring for me as well.
I'm so glad I got this opportunity. Thank you so much, David. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. All right. Take care. God bless.
Yeah.